car companies. I love the car companies, and you have them. They're all coming back. They're coming back from Mexico. They're coming back from Canada. They're coming back from Japan. And they're coming back from Germany, all over Europe. They're coming back. They're building here because they want to avoid the tariffs.
The latest comments there from U.S. President Donald Trump about his tariff regime, one that has had a measurable impact on certain sectors of the Canadian economy, not the least of which, as he actually pointed out, is the auto sector. We're hearing word that General Motors, for example, could be laying off as many as 1,200 people tomorrow because of that tariff regime. And the union, representing the workers there, is urging the federal government to keep USMCA intact. Now, how likely is that to happen, and how much willingness is there on the other side of the border for that to remain a distinct possibility? Jared Polis is the governor of Colorado. Hi, Governor. It's good to have you back with us. Thank you so much for making the time for the conversation.
Always a pleasure.
So we've been on the receiving end here in Canada in recent days of kind of ramped up again rhetoric from U.S. President Trump threatening to apply another 100% tariff, for example, on everything going from Canada to the U.S. should we pursue a formalized free trade agreement with China. What do you take from the fact that he's taking aim at us in a very specific way again?
Well, I don't know what else to say besides a little bit of Canadian I studied. We're sorry. This is not the way most Americans feel. It really isn't. Canada is a close friend and ally. Trade wars hurt both of us. They hurt the Canadian people. They hurt the American people. I think it's not only is what he's doing irrational, but frankly, it's unpopular with the American people. It hurts. It increases costs on construction materials and homes and so many things. I believe in a strong hemispheric supply chain working with the USMCA countries, Mexico, Canada, to strengthen against our competition against China and other countries. I think that's where America will come down. Please be patient with us during this difficult period.
What is your sense of the level of pushback right now where you are, but also among governors, to Trump's pursuit of this tariff regime now versus, let's say, the last time we spoke, more than 6 months ago, when you were one of the few governors at the time who was speaking out very loudly against it? Do you sense there is more pushback?
There is. I think the governors are beginning to understand more the contributions of the U.S.-Canada relationship. For nearly every state, it's the number 1 or 2 trading partner, investment partner. Canadian firms operating in our states, employing thousands of people, firms from our state that have sales in Canada. It works both ways. It benefits everybody. For too long, the U.S.-Canada relationship is something that we took for granted. And I think what we are all waking up to is this is something we need to cherish. This is something we need to actively promote, not just take for granted that our two countries are strong allies.
And do you think at the state level that message will be pushed as this USMCA review kind of unfolds? Because I can tell you here on this side of the border, right, that's what we're all very much focused on. How much of CUSMA will remain intact, let's say, a year from now? What is your position on that? And do you think that message will be made evident to the president during the process?
Yeah, I can't say I've talked to all 50 governors, but I can say I've talked to at least a dozen, including people from the governors of both parties, who are all very strongly supportive of renewing the free trade agreement. Let's go back to what he did last time. We had NAFTA. He renegotiated USMCA. Not substantially different. In some areas, a little stronger. Some areas maybe to the detriment of the U.S. or Canada. But generally speaking, very similar. I hope, is what we all hope, is what the president is looking for here, is some sort of symbolic victory that will, we hope, actually improve the trade agreement between U.S., Canada, and Mexico. This was his trade agreement. He replaced NAFTA with it. He has pride of authorship. It addressed some of his perceived flaws in NAFTA. Let's use that as a starting point to deliver even more value and prosperity for the American, Canadian, and Mexican people.
Do you believe that the deal as it exists right now has benefited the people of Colorado?
Oh, absolutely. As did NAFTA before it, tremendously. I mean, the free trade between the free people encourages mutual prosperity and is a key cornerstone to the economic success of Colorado, America, Canada, Mexico. It's also a vital geopolitical importance with regard to our competitiveness against China and other blocs that represent a potential geopolitical and military threat to the interests of Canada, United States, and Mexico.
You mentioned, Governor, some of the impacts on the ground of the tariffs. And I wondered if you could expand in particular in Colorado about what your assessment of that impact actually is, because it's another one of those things that I think here on this side of the border we had anticipated, let's say a year ago, if Trump follows through on all of this, it's going to be, have a huge impact on American consumers, and that ultimately will push him to change his mind. The impact appears to be, muted compared relative to what the expectation could have been, but is that shifting, do you think, and what has it been like in Colorado?
No, the impact is already real. We did a statewide look at this. We dug deep on the impact. Just as an example, one of the challenges we face in Colorado is high cost of living. It's a beautiful place to live. People want to live here, but the average home in the Denver metropolitan area is about $600,000 US dollars. And new home construction costs increased by as much as 6% because of these tariffs and the utilization of Canadian timber and materials in the construction process. Agriculture, another one, big economic driver for Colorado, impacted by these tariffs. So sector after sector is already feeling it, not to mention, as you said, consumers facing record high prices on items from across the world that are subject to arbitrary tariffs that make no economic sense for the American people or for the people of other countries.
Do you think that in the aggregate and or the Supreme Court will ultimately force the president to change his position?
Well, I hope so. He cares about stock markets potentially. He cares about economic performance. These tariffs are truly a cancer that eats at our economic productivity. The Supreme Court will be deciding at some point. Just to remind folks, that doesn't throw out all the tariffs. There's some it does. I know they've planned on other justifications to bring back other tariffs. That could be a step forward, of course, and I do believe that going forward, Congress does need to make sure that presidents can't act in an arbitrary way with regard to tariffs and don't have that unilateral authority, because who's going to trust us in trade agreements in the future if they can be blown up simply at the whim of a particular president?
Speaking of trust, Governor, just one final question for you. Part of what preceded the renewed threats from the U.S. president toward Canada was a speech that our prime minister delivered in Davos, Switzerland at the World Economic Forum that garnered a lot of international reaction, in which the thesis was essentially this old world order, rules-based world order, where we kind of trusted the United States to guide us through it, is dead. It's over, and now middle powers have to kind of get together to be able to stand up to greater powers who are at times perhaps abusing them. Abusing that power. I'm paraphrasing, but I wondered what you thought of that thesis, and particularly in the context of somebody who has, for a number of years now, nearly 8, served the constituents that you have.
On a short-term basis, I understand why he said what he said, given where the American position has been. I do think we need to learn to cherish one another more and grow closer. U.S., Canada, Mexico, we have every geopolitical and economic reason to do so. I certainly would agree with the Prime Minister that's not where we are today. But maybe it's a time to envision an even better future, a future that's even better and more prosperous for the major powers of North America.
I'll leave it on that note. Governor, really appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thank you.